I never thought love would find me again, especially not with my daughter's teacher. But sometimes, the most obvious signs are the ones we're too afraid to see. James Parker stared at the diamond ring in his palm, remembering the moment that changed everything. If you're enjoying this story of second chances and blind love, please hit that like button and subscribe for more heartfelt stories that remind us it's never too late to open our eyes to what's right in front of us. The first time James Parker met Olivia Chen was on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in September. He was running late to his daughter Emma's parent-teacher conference, soaked from the downpour and frazzled from a day of back-to-back meetings. At 38, James had mastered the art of keeping all the plates spinning, his thriving architecture firm, his home, and most importantly, raising his 12-year-old daughter alone since his wife's death 4 years ago. "Mr. Parker, I presume?" The voice that greeted him was warm but professional. James looked up to see Emma's new 7th-grade English teacher extending her hand. Olivia Chen had kind eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners when she smiled, and dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. Nothing about her was particularly striking at first glance, except perhaps the colorful array of literary quotes pinned to the bulletin board behind her desk. "I'm so sorry I'm late," James said, shaking her hand briefly. "Work emergency." "No problem at all. Emma mentioned you're quite busy these days." There was no judgment in her tone, just a simple observation. James felt a familiar pang of guilt. Did she? I try not to let it affect her. Ms. Chen's smile softened. She's actually quite proud of you. She told the class her dad builds buildings that touch the sky. Her words, not mine. Something warm bloomed in James's chest. She said that? She did. Emma's quite the writer, Mr. Parker. She has a beautiful way with words. The conference continued professionally enough, with Ms. Chen showing him samples of Emma's work and discussing her progress. But as James was leaving, she handed him a book. "Emma mentioned you used to read to her mother every night. This might be something you'd both enjoy." James stared at the novel in his hands, momentarily speechless. He hadn't told anyone about that tradition, those quiet evenings reading aloud to Sarah during her final months of cancer treatment. It had been their private ritual, their way of escaping hospital rooms and prognosis. "Emma told you about that?" Ms. Chen nodded. "She said it was her favorite memory of the three of you together." James swallowed hard. "Thank you," he managed, tucking the book under his arm. "Just returning it would be fine," she said with a smile. No need to write a book report. It was the first sign he missed. The second sign came a month later at the school's fall festival. James had promised Emma he'd be there to see her poetry reading, but a client meeting ran long. He slipped into the auditorium just as Emma was walking onto the stage, her face scanning the crowd anxiously. When she spotted him, her entire expression changed. Relief, then joy. James felt both grateful and guilty as he took a seat in the back row. Emma's poem was about stars, how they looked close together from Earth but were actually millions of miles apart. How sometimes things that seemed distant could actually be connected by invisible forces. It was surprisingly profound for a 12-year-old, and James felt his throat tighten with emotion. After the performances, he found Emma surrounded by her friends, Ms. Chen standing nearby. "Dad! You made it!" Emma threw her arms around him. "Wouldn't have missed it, kiddo. That poem was incredible." "Ms. Chen helped me with it," Emma said, glancing at her teacher. "She stayed after school 3 days in a row." James looked at the teacher with genuine gratitude. "Thank you for doing that." "It was my pleasure. Emma has real talent." Ms. Chen smiled, then added, "The astronomy metaphors were all her idea. Apparently, someone takes her stargazing regularly." James nodded. "Sarah, my wife, was an amateur astronomer. I try to keep the tradition going." "That's beautiful," Ms. Chen said softly. Then, with a slight hesitation, the school's science department has a telescope night next month. You both might enjoy it. Can we go, Dad? Emma asked eagerly. Sure, if I can move some things around at work. I'll be helping run it, Miss Chen added. The science teacher could use an extra hand from someone who knows their constellations. James nodded politely. Sounds great. As they were leaving, Emma whispered, Miss Chen asked if you were coming today. Like, 3 times. Did she? James replied absently, checking his phone for missed calls. Second sign, completely overlooked. The telescope night arrived on a clear, crisp November evening. James had actually blocked off his calendar well in advance, determined not to disappoint Emma again. They arrived at the school field to find several telescopes set up, with small groups of families rotating between them. Ms. Chen spotted them immediately. The Parkers are here, she called out, waving them over. She was dressed casually in jeans and a navy sweater with tiny stars embroidered along the collar. Her hair was down for once, falling in soft waves past her shoulders. You look different, James said without thinking. Different good or different bad? She asked with a small smile. Different, not teacher-like, he fumbled. Emma rolled her eyes dramatically. Smooth, Dad. Ms. Chen laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. Come on, I saved you the best telescope. It's pointed at Jupiter tonight, you can see 3 of its moons. The evening passed pleasantly, with Emma bouncing between telescopes and her friends while James found himself increasingly engaged in conversation with Olivia, as she'd asked him to call her outside of school. She knew an impressive amount about astronomy for an English teacher. My father was a physicist, she explained. He made sure I appreciated both arts and sciences. He used to say that poetry and physics were just different languages describing the same universe. That's a beautiful way to look at it, James said. Sarah, my wife, used to say something similar. That architecture was just applied physics with an artistic soul. Olivia's expression softened. Emma talks about her mother sometimes. She sounds like she was an amazing woman. She was, James said quietly. Then, surprising himself, he added, it's been 4 years, but sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times, it feels like another lifetime. Grief isn't linear, Olivia said. My mother passed when I was in college. Some days it still catches me off guard. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, both looking up at the stars. Dad! Emma called, running over. Can Ms. Chen come to our house for the meteor shower next week? I told her about our roof deck, and she said it would be perfect for viewing. James blinked, caught off guard. I told Emma that was probably imposing, Olivia said quickly. Please don't feel obligated. No, it's fine, James found himself saying. We usually make hot chocolate and build a blanket fort up there. Very sophisticated astronomical viewing setup. Sounds perfect, Olivia said with a smile that reached her eyes. As they were leaving, the science teacher called out to Olivia, don't forget your pie dish from the staff potluck. Oh, right. Olivia hurried to retrieve a glass pie plate. You bake? James asked as they walked to the parking lot. Apple pie is my specialty, she said. Though I've been told my peach cobbler is life-changing. Dad loves peach cobbler. Emma interjected. Mom used to make it for his birthday every year. Is that so? Olivia asked, glancing at James with a smile. It is, he confirmed. Though I haven't had it in years. Well, maybe I'll have to make it sometime, she said casually. When's your birthday? December 12th, Emma answered before James could. It's coming up. Is it now? Olivia's eyes twinkled. Good to know. Third sign, sailing right over his head. The meteor shower night arrived, and James found himself unusually nervous. He spent the morning cleaning the apartment, something he normally did in a cursory way on weekends between work projects. "Dad, why are you organizing the bookshelf?" Emma asked, watching him alphabetize a section that had been chaotic for years. "Ms. Chen isn't going to inspect our books." "Just tidying up," he muttered. "Don't you have homework?" "It's Saturday," Emma pointed out. "And Ms. Chen assigned us to watch the meteor shower and write about it, so technically, this is homework." James paused. "You talk about Ms. Chen a lot." Emma shrugged. "She's my favorite teacher. And she's nice to you." "What does that mean?" "Nothing," Emma said with a mysterious smile. "I'm going to set up the blanket fort on the roof." Olivia arrived precisely at 7, carrying a thermos and a small bag. "I brought my special hot chocolate," she explained. "And some homemade cookies." "You didn't have to do that," James said, taking the thermos. "I wanted to," she replied simply. "Thank you for inviting me." Emma gave them a tour of the apartment, proudly showing off her room with its star-patterned ceiling that James had painted himself. "Dad did all the constellations accurately," she explained. "He researched for weeks." "It's beautiful," Olivia said, looking genuinely impressed. "You're quite talented, Mr. Architect." "James, please," he said. "And thank you." The roof deck was James's pride and joy, a small urban oasis with potted plants, comfortable furniture, and string lights that Emma had insisted on. The blanket fort was already constructed, with pillows and extra blankets for warmth. "This is magical," Olivia breathed, taking in the view of the city skyline. "What a perfect spot." They settled in to wait for the meteor shower, sipping hot chocolate and talking easily. Emma dominated the conversation at first, but eventually grew quiet, her attention captured by the first streaks of light across the sky. "Make a wish," Olivia whispered as a particularly bright meteor blazed past. James closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to find Olivia looking at him instead of the sky. She quickly glanced away. "What did you wish for, Dad?" Emma asked. "Can't say or it won't come true," he replied automatically. "That's just superstition," Emma said with the confidence of youth. "I wish that we could do more things like this. The three of us." James felt his cheeks warm. "Emma." "What?" "It's not like it's a secret that I think Ms. Chen is awesome and that you need more friends." "Emma." James was mortified now. But Olivia just laughed. "I think you're both pretty awesome too, Emma. And I'd love to do more things like this." Later, after Emma had fallen asleep in the blanket fort, James and Olivia sat talking quietly under the stars. "She's an amazing kid," Olivia said, looking at Emma's sleeping form. "You've done a wonderful job with her." "I'm trying," James said honestly. "Some days I feel like I'm failing miserably." "All parents feel that way," Olivia assured him. "But trust me, as someone who sees dozens of kids every day, Emma is special. She's kind, thoughtful, and resilient. That doesn't happen by accident." "Thank you for saying that," James said softly. "And thank you for being such a positive influence on her. She really looks up to you." Olivia was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Have you dated at all since your wife passed?" The question caught him off guard. "No," he admitted. "Between work and Emma, there hasn't been time. And honestly, I haven't been interested." Olivia nodded thoughtfully. "That's understandable. Why do you ask?" She hesitated. "Just curious. Emma mentioned once that she wished you weren't always alone." "Did she?" James looked at his sleeping daughter. "She's never said that to me." "Kids often tell their teachers things they don't tell their parents," Olivia said gently. "It's nothing to worry about. She just wants you to be happy." "I am happy," James insisted, though even to his own ears, it didn't sound entirely convincing. Olivia didn't push the issue. Instead, she pointed to another meteor streaking across the sky. "Another wish," she said softly. This time, when James opened his eyes, he found himself looking at Olivia's profile, the starlight reflecting in her dark eyes. Fourth sign, completely missed. December arrived with a flurry of activity. James's firm was finishing 3 major projects before the holidays, and he found himself working later than usual. Emma was busy with end-of-semester activities and preparations for the winter concert. "Dad, you're coming to the concert, right?" Emma asked one morning over breakfast. "I have a solo." "Of course I'll be there," James promised. "December 10th, right?" "Yes. And don't forget your birthday is right after." "I'm planning something." James smiled. "Nothing elaborate, I hope." "It's your 40th. It has to be special," Emma insisted. 39th, he corrected. "Whatever. Ms. Chen says milestone birthdays deserve celebration." James raised an eyebrow. "You discuss my birthday with Ms. Chen?" Emma suddenly became very interested in her cereal. "Sometimes." The day of the winter concert, James was trapped in an emergency meeting with clients. He called Emma to let her know he might be late. "It's fine," she said, her voice small. "Ms. Chen said she'd record my solo for you." The guilt was overwhelming. "I'll be there, Em. I promise. I might just miss the beginning." He made it, barely. Slipping into the auditorium as the middle school choir was taking the stage, he spotted Emma immediately, scanning the crowd just as she had at the fall festival. When she saw him, her smile was radiant. Her solo was beautiful, a clear, sweet rendition of "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" that had James blinking back tears. When had his little girl developed such a lovely voice? After the performance, he found Emma surrounded by her friends and their parents. Olivia stood nearby, looking elegant in a deep green dress. "You were amazing," James told Emma, hugging her tightly. "You really came," she whispered. "I promised, didn't I?" He held her at arm's length. "I'm so proud of you." "Ms. Chen helped me practice," Emma said. "She stayed after school all week." James looked over at Olivia, who was chatting with another parent. "She seems to do that a lot for you." "She's the best," Emma said simply. Then, with a mischievous smile, "She's wearing her fancy dress tonight." "Is she?" James said absently. "Dad." Emma's tone made him look at her. "She wore her fancy dress. And she keeps looking over here." James glanced at Olivia, who quickly averted her gaze when their eyes met. "She probably wants to make sure you found me," he reasoned. Emma sighed dramatically. "You're impossible." Before James could ask what she meant, Olivia approached them. "Emma, you were wonderful," she said warmly. "That solo was perfect." "Thanks for helping me practice," Emma replied. "Dad made it just in time." "I saw," Olivia said, smiling at James. "Important meeting?" "Unfortunately," he confirmed. "But I wouldn't have missed Emma's solo for anything." "Dad's birthday is the day after tomorrow," Emma announced. "We're having a small celebration at our apartment. You should come." James stared at his daughter. "Emma, I'm sure Ms. Chen has other plans." "Actually, I'm free," Olivia said quickly. "If you're sure I wouldn't be intruding?" "Not at all," Emma insisted before James could respond. "Right, Dad?" Put on the spot, James nodded. "Of course. It's just going to be simple, though. Takeout and cake." "Sounds perfect," Olivia said. "What time?" As they were leaving, Emma nudged him. "Ms. Chen asked what your favorite food was last week." "I told her Thai." "Why would she ask that?" James wondered. Emma just shook her head. For a smart guy, you can be really dumb sometimes, Dad. Fifth sign, completely overlooked. On the evening of his birthday, James arrived home to find the apartment transformed. Emma had hung streamers and balloons, and a homemade "Happy Birthday Dad" banner stretched across the living room. Surprise! Emma called when he walked. I'll continue the story from where I left off. Surprise! Emma called when he walked in. Happy birthday, Dad. James was genuinely touched. This looks amazing, Em. You did all this yourself? Ms. Chen helped me after school yesterday, Emma admitted. She's coming at 7, so you have time to change. Change? James looked down at his work clothes. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? Emma gave him a critical once-over. Nothing, if you're going for the exhausted workaholic look. Ouch, James laughed. Fine, I'll change. He showered and put on a casual button-down shirt and jeans, feeling strangely nervous. When the doorbell rang at precisely 7, Emma raced to answer it. Ms. Chen. You look so pretty. Emma's voice carried down the hallway. James emerged from his bedroom to find Olivia standing in his living room, holding a bakery box and a gift bag. She wore a simple blue dress and had her hair down again, the way he secretly preferred it. Happy birthday, she said with a warm smile. I hope you don't mind, but I brought dessert. You didn't have to do that, James said, taking the box from her. When he opened it, he found himself staring at a perfect peach cobbler. Emma mentioned it was your favorite, Olivia explained, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. You remembered, he said softly. Of course I did. Their eyes met for a moment too long before Emma cleared her throat dramatically. I ordered the Thai food already. It should be here any minute. Dinner was relaxed and comfortable, with Emma dominating the conversation as usual. She regaled them with stories from school that had both adults laughing. James couldn't remember the last time he'd enjoyed his birthday so much. After dinner, Emma insisted they open presents before dessert. Mine first, she declared, handing James a carefully wrapped package. Inside was a framed photograph of Sarah holding baby Emma, with James looking at them both adoringly. It was one of his favorite pictures, but he hadn't seen it in years. I found it in the storage boxes, Emma explained. I thought you might want it on your nightstand again. James hugged her tightly, too moved to speak for a moment. It's perfect, he finally managed. Thank you, sweetheart. Now Ms. Chen's. Emma said, bouncing with excitement. Olivia handed him the gift bag somewhat shyly. It's nothing fancy, she warned. James pulled out a book, a first edition of his favorite novel, one he had mentioned offhandedly during the meteor shower night. How did you find this? He asked, genuinely amazed as he carefully turned the pages. I have a friend who owns a used bookstore, she explained. When you mentioned it was your favorite, I thought you might like a special copy. I love it, he said sincerely. Thank you, Olivia. There's something else in there, Emma prompted, peering into the bag. James reached in and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a certificate for a stargazing tour at the local observatory, for 3 people. I thought we could all go together, Olivia said hesitantly. They have a telescope much more powerful than the school's. But if that's overstepping. It's not, James assured her quickly. It's thoughtful. Really. After dessert, which was indeed the best peach cobbler James had tasted since Sarah died, Emma announced she was tired and heading to bed, despite it being only 9 o'clock. It's a school night, she said with exaggerated innocence. And I have a big test tomorrow. James knew perfectly well she didn't have a test, but he played along. Okay, kiddo. Thanks for the great birthday. Once Emma had disappeared into her room, an awkward silence fell between the adults. I should probably go, Olivia said, standing to gather her things. You don't have to, James found himself saying. Unless you want to, of course. I don't want to intrude on your birthday evening. You're not intruding, he assured her. Actually, I was hoping we could talk. They moved to the couch, sitting a careful distance apart. Emma seems to have developed quite the attachment to you, James began. Olivia smiled. She's a special kid. All my students are important to me, but Emma, she reminds me a lot of myself at that age. She's never connected with a teacher like this before, James continued. She talks about you constantly. I hope that's okay, Olivia said, suddenly looking concerned. I've tried to maintain appropriate boundaries. No, it's wonderful, James assured her. After Sarah died, Emma withdrew from everyone. It's been a long road back. Seeing her excited about school, about anything really, it means the world to me. Olivia relaxed. I'm glad. She's flourishing this year, you know. Her writing especially. She gets that from her mother, James said with a sad smile. Sarah was always the wordsmith between us. Emma showed me some of her mother's poems, Olivia admitted. She keeps a journal of them in her backpack. James was surprised. I didn't know that. She reads them when she's feeling sad or overwhelmed. She told me it makes her feel connected to her mom. James felt his throat tighten with emotion. Thank you for telling me that. James, Olivia said softly, Emma isn't the only Parker I've grown fond of these past few months. The words hung in the air between them. James felt his heart begin to race. Olivia. You don't have to say anything, she said quickly. I know this is complicated. I'm Emma's teacher, and you're still processing your loss. I just wanted you to know. James looked at her, really looked at her, for what felt like the first time. The kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. The way she listened intently when Emma spoke, as if every word mattered. The quiet strength she carried. How had he not seen it before? I'm not very good at this, he admitted. It's been a long time since I've even thought about dating. I understand, Olivia said, beginning to stand. I shouldn't have said anything. James gently caught her hand. No, I'm glad you did. Because the truth is, I've enjoyed every moment we've spent together. I just didn't allow myself to see it for what it was. And what is it? She asked softly. The beginning of something, he said honestly. Something I didn't think I'd ever feel again. The sixth sign, finally recognized. Over the next few months, James and Olivia began seeing each other cautiously. They kept things appropriate at school functions, but spent weekends together with Emma, exploring museums, hiking trails, and of course, stargazing. Emma was delighted by this development, though she tried to play it cool. I knew you liked each other, she said smugly after their first official date. It was so obvious. Was it? James asked, genuinely curious. Dad, she brought you peach cobbler on your birthday. That's basically a marriage proposal. James laughed, but the comment stuck with him. He hadn't thought about marriage since Sarah died. The idea should have terrified him, but somehow, it didn't. Spring arrived, bringing with it Emma's 13th birthday. They planned a small party at the apartment, with a few of her friends and, of course, Olivia. The night before the party, James found Emma sitting on the roof deck, looking at the stars. Everything okay, kiddo? He asked, joining her. Just thinking about Mom, she said quietly. Wondering if she'd be okay with everything. James put his arm around her. What do you mean? You and Ms. Chen. Do you think Mom would be mad? James felt his heart constrict. Oh, no, absolutely not. Your mom would want us both to be happy. I am happy, Emma said. I really like Ms. Chen. She makes you smile again. She does, doesn't she? James admitted. Mom would like her, Emma decided. They both love books and stars and me. James laughed softly. That's true. Are you going to marry her? Emma asked bluntly. James nearly choked. Emma. We've only been dating a few months. But you love her, right? I can tell. Did he? James hadn't said those words to Olivia yet, though they'd been on the tip of his tongue many times. It's complicated, Em. Adults always say that when they're scared, Emma observed wisely. The next day, the birthday party was in full swing when James pulled Olivia aside. Everything okay? She asked, concerned by his serious expression. Perfect, he assured her. I just wanted to ask you something. What is it? The school year is almost over, he began. Yes, she said cautiously. Emma will be moving to 8th grade. Which means she won't be your student anymore, James pointed out. That's true, Olivia agreed, still looking confused. I was thinking maybe we could be more public about our relationship then. If you want to, of course. Olivia's face softened. I'd like that very much. Good, James said, relieved. Because I've been wanting to tell you something for a while now, but it never seemed like the right time. What is it? She asked, her eyes searching his. I love you, he said simply. I think I have for months, but I was too scared to admit it, even to myself. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. James. You don't have to say it back, he assured her quickly. I just wanted you to know. You idiot, she said, laughing through her tears. I've been in love with you since the meteor shower. Probably before that, if I'm being honest. James felt his heart soar. Really? Yes, really. I've been dropping hints for months. I'm a bit slow on the uptake, he admitted sheepishly. Dad. Emma's voice interrupted them. It's time for cake. They rejoined the party, both slightly flushed but smiling. As they sang "Happy Birthday" to Emma, James caught Olivia's eye across the candlelit cake. She smiled at him, and he felt something settle into place in his heart. Later that night, after the party had ended and Emma was in bed, they stood together on the roof deck under the stars. I have something for you, James said, pulling a small box from his pocket. James, Olivia breathed, her eyes wide. Is that? Not a ring, he clarified quickly. Not yet, anyway. But a promise. Inside the box was a delicate silver necklace with a star-shaped pendant. It's beautiful, she whispered as he fastened it around her neck. Emma helped me pick it out, he admitted. She said it had to be stars, because that's what brought us together. Smart girl, Olivia said, touching the pendant gently. She gets that from her mother, James said softly. Then, taking Olivia's hands in his, he added, and from you. You've been such an important part of her life this past year. Of both our lives. You two changed my life too, Olivia told him. I wasn't looking for this, you know. A ready-made family. Is that what we are? James asked. A family? I hope so, she said honestly. If you'll have me. James pulled her close. I think we've established that I'm the slow one in this relationship. You might have to be very direct with me. Olivia laughed, then grew serious. She took his face in her hands and looked directly into his eyes. I love you, James Parker. You and Emma both. I want to build a life with you, if you'll let me. I love you too, he said, his voice thick with emotion. And yes, I want that more than anything. As they kissed under the stars, neither noticed Emma watching from the doorway, a satisfied smile on her face. Her wish had finally come true. 1 year later, James stood nervously at the altar, watching as Emma walked down the aisle scattering flower petals. She winked at him as she took her place, now a confident 14-year-old who had orchestrated much of the wedding planning herself. When Olivia appeared at the end of the aisle, James felt his breath catch. She was radiant in a simple white dress, her dark hair adorned with tiny star-shaped pins that caught the light. As she reached him, he whispered, "You're beautiful. You clean up pretty well yourself," she teased, her eyes shining with happiness. The ceremony was short and sweet, with Emma giving a reading from one of Sarah's favorite poems. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when she finished by saying, "My mom once told me that love is like the stars, even when you can't see it, it's still there, guiding you home." I think she sent Olivia, to guide us home. At the reception, James found a moment alone with his new wife. "Happy?" he asked, pulling her close. Deliriously, she confirmed. "Though I still can't believe it took you so long to realize I was flirting with you." James laughed. "In my defense, you were very subtle. I brought you homemade peach cobbler on your birthday," she exclaimed. According to Emma, that's practically a marriage proposal. "Well, she was right in the end," James said, glancing at his daughter, who was dancing with her friends. "She usually is." "She's extraordinary," Olivia agreed. "Just like her father." James looked at the woman who had brought light back into his life when he least expected it. "I love you, you know." "I know," she said softly. "It just took you a while to figure it out." "I got there eventually," he pointed out. "Yes," she agreed, resting her head on his shoulder. "You did." As they swayed together on the dance floor, James thought about all the signs he'd missed along the way. The book she'd lent him. The way she'd remembered his favorite dessert. The meteor shower wishes. The birthday gift. So many moments when love had been right in front of him, if only he'd been brave enough to see it. Sometimes, he realized, the heart needs time to heal before it can recognize love again. And sometimes, it takes a tearful declaration, "I love you, idiot," to finally open your eyes to what's been there all along. James Parker stared at the wedding ring on his finger, remembering the moment that changed everything, and silently thanked the stars for second chances.